Well, good afternoon, Woodridge Kindergarten first and second grade families. Thank you for joining us today. We are going to be recording this session and sending it out later on by the end of the day, but I do want to take time to go through our return to campus because we have that happening soon. So today is all about that to help you prepare on your end as a parent and guardian. Next slide, please. So I'll be going over the daily health screening and attestation process that we are requiring of students before arriving to school. We'll go over the daily schedule, safety measures we've got put in place, and we'll be asking you to please follow. The arrival and dismissal procedures, because those will be different than what you're typically used to. Some information about when the kids are in the classroom and what that will look like. Some key points I want to reiterate at the end, and then also during this time, if you have questions that arise, please put those in the chat. And we have our instructional technology curriculum leader, Mrs. Neal, monitoring the chat room, and she'll be compiling the frequently asked questions for us to address at the end. So just a little bit about taking care of ourselves before school when coming. So this is for kindergarten, first and second graders that are returning to in-school for in-person instruction. If anyone in your home has a temperature of 100 or over 100, or has any COVID-like symptoms, we are asking that you please stay home because we are doing everything in our ability to keep our campus safe so we can keep it open. Once you get to school, if your child starts to feel ill or has any symptoms of COVID, they will be escorted to a safe wellness area and checked by a staff member, at which time we'll ask you to come pick them up. And if you have a child that does get ill, please seek medical attention and care as soon as possible. So just so you know that we are taking every precaution very seriously because we want to keep all our students and our staff as safe as possible in this process. So when I talk about a daily health check, on our district website that you will start to see the app that's been developed, and that is to be completed daily, not the night before, but daily that morning before your child arrives. It's supposed to be for each child in your households that will be attending in person. So if you have, like, for example, a kindergarten and second grade child, you would do a health attestation check for each child before they arrive. It's supposed to be completed before the child comes to school, so please make sure to get in the habit of that. I will send out directions for how you can save that website and so forth. It can be done on your phone, computer. We'll have QR codes that can be scanned and so forth. When you complete that student health check, it's also something that staff are required to do. You enter your last name and student ID number without the S and pound. And the bookmark to use daily would be healthcheck.bsd405.org, and you would select the student health check. This is an example, so I would enter my last name, Hepworth, because hi, I'm Nicole. I didn't introduce myself, but hopefully many of you know who I am by now. I would introduce my student number, let's say, and you can select the language preference up here too, if you wish, if that makes it easier for anybody. So your student last name, student ID, click that you're not a robot, and then you would verify. And what that does is it sends us a report of who has verified and who hasn't, and we'll be cross-checking those upon arrival and attendance taking. If you don't know your child's ID, at the top in the blueprint, you'll see how you can go to parent view or student view to access that information. It can also be found on their technology device because we tried to print those labels out before handing those devices out. Once you enter and log on, these are the symptoms that we will be looking for in the classroom and at school, but also that you will be noting for the attestation purposes. There will be questions that you need to answer. So please, we just can't stress enough to please be honest so that we can work with you to keep every child and family and staff member safe. The questions are related to exposure and are developed by the King County Health Department and CDC guidelines, and then also respond if you, as it applies. So this is an example of what it will look like once you log on. So that's what we'll be doing daily prior to each student arriving to school. This is an example of what it looks like on your phone and how to access it on your phone. You can go to Safari if you have an iPhone and go to healthcheck.bsd405.org. You would tap on the icon, the sharing icon, and then choose adding it to your home screen, tap add, and then it would appear as an app on your phone. So that's just another way to add it onto your phone to make it easier for you. And we will be sending this PowerPoint out so you can have review of this if you need, along with the recording. So our daily schedule, as you know, we had to work hard to assign our students to an AM or PM session, and that took a lot of behind the scenes work trying to accommodate student needs, teacher needs, parent needs, and so forth. And so we've done the best that we can to align an AM, PM, and you would have been contacted by now by our office manager, but if you don't have that information confirmed or feel like you need a reminder, please feel free to email Lori England or call our front office and we can tell you your child's assignment. But if your child was assigned to the AM session, school would be going from 9 to 11:30, and I'll talk more about the arrival process because the arrival process actually starts before then. So this is instructional time that we're talking about, so instruction would start at 9. If you are in the PM assignment, instruction starts at 1 o'clock and goes till 3:30. Now, when you're not in those assigned times, your child will be taking their specialist, either art, music, library, or PE, and or in asynchronous learning. So more about that will be coming, but second grade parents who have children starting this Thursday, your specialist schedule will transition and you'll see that reflected on your child's calendar as well. So the importance of health screening prior to entry, again, please complete that before school. I can't tell you that enough. That's going to help us be really speedy in getting to the instructional part of the day. And when students arrive, they are going to have designated entrances. It won't be the main entrance that you're used to. At that time, we'll be doing visual checks for symptoms. Kids will be seated right away at their desks. We'll be also checking for masks, and we have masks to provide if someone needs one. And we'll be doing hand sanitization. Once they enter their designated entrance, they would report right to their desk. Staff will be taking their temperature, and again, if it's 100 degrees or higher or any symptoms that are not excused by a doctor's note that we've received for an individual healthcare plan, let's say, then they will be sent to a wellness room for parent contact and pickup. So at that time, we'll do another screening in our wellness room and then contact you for pickup. So that is something to be prepared for. The wellness space that we are providing for isolation is necessary and requires immediate parent pickup, like I said, and we'll be following all the hand washing recommendations throughout the day. Some good habits to stress for your child to support them is to get used to wearing their mask. I know last week our counselor did some lessons with our second grade students and is continuing to have them practice wearing their masks at all times. Again, unless excused for medical reason by a doctor, so we will be requiring that at school. And as a parent too, please put an extra mask in a Ziploc bag for your child to have in their backpack if and for whatever reason it might be. It's just better to be prepared. We're going to be emphasizing washing hands, especially after the bathroom, maintaining physical distance for 6 feet minimum as much as possible. That goes for staff and students. And we appreciate everyone trying to be kind to one another in those reminders. So a universal signal for reminding about the mask might be just something like this. So you could teach your kids that to help them remind their peers, and also if a staff member sees them, we'll do that to them as well. We are limiting the number of people in the building, so anyone who's not a BSD approved employee to enter or a family member, we are not allowing anyone in the building for that extra layer of protection. So that's going to be different as a family and parent too, because we're asking you to remain in your cars during drop off and so forth. So just know that we are going to be doing the best we can to take care of everybody, but we do require this for health and safety measures. Our arrival plan is going to be different, like I said, and it's based off of transportation. So for the purpose of contact tracing and trying to eliminate cross paths of traffic and so forth of bodies, we are staggering our arrival plan. And so on this PowerPoint, you'll see at the very top, there's the AM section in the yellow header and the PM section in the blue. And we are staggering arrival based on mode of transportation. And it's a little different from AM to PM because our bus arrives first in the AM, but it arrives a little bit later in the PM. So in order to stagger out those who are arriving to create distance, we are asking that you arrive at the assigned times. So if you are someone who does not have a child taking the bus and bringing them by car or walker, please pay attention to those modes of transportation and when to arrive. And then again, our instruction will start at 9 or 1 o'clock. And you'll see here, yellow indicates our second grade entrances. So you'll see Mr. Friesen's class coming to these back double doors. Thanks, Duke, for pointing to that. Mr. Friesen's class will use those back double doors and walk down the main hallway to his classroom. Mrs. Reimergarten's classroom and the kindergartens will enter through their exterior doors. And then Mrs. Wilson and Mrs. Hess's first grade classrooms in the orange will enter to their exterior doors. And then we have Mrs. Nova and Mrs. Friesen's classrooms entering to the exterior doors by the undercovered area. So again, we will have assigned entrances and modes of transportation will dictate upon arrival. If you are in Miss King or Miss Smith's class, you'll arrive at the far right-hand entrance. And again, this is to help spread the traffic out, if you will, the foot traffic, and not cause any cross patterns because we do have to contact trace every movement of every person in the school. The dismissal plan is very similar, although at the top you'll see we are dismissing second grade first. So we go oldest to youngest once we are all at school. And the reason being for this is because buses will load from oldest to youngest first. And once the teachers are exiting, so I need to fix that color coding at the top, but the yellow is our second grade mainly. And second grade will go first for the purpose of dropping kids off if and when we find out we have Bellevue Boys and Girls Club. And then we'll swing down the main hallway to the bus and then out to a parent pickup station, which I'll talk about in a second. And then once first grade comes, they'll follow afterwards, and then kindergarten follows. So the whole point of that is so that everybody's moving in the same direction, similar to when you go to the grocery store and the aisles. So that is why we have had to come up with those plans for those purposes. Staged waiting. So once kids get outside, they will be dropped off at the bus and we'll load the bus immediately in that order of oldest to youngest. And then there are stationed waiting areas by grade and teacher. So this is an example of second grade to begin with. So just yesterday we were out spray painting all of this to make it work. So in that first parking area of A, Mr. Friesen's class will wait. And that is where if you are following our traffic patterns in your car, you would enter our parking lot, go around like you typically do, and wait until you get to A to pick up your child. And that is so that we can prevent any cross traffic, foot traffic and so forth. So it's to maintain social distancing. If you are a walker, that is where Mr. Friesen will be waiting with his class as an example. And you would want to make visual eye contact and maintain 6-foot distancing for your child to be dismissed to walk unless you direct us to send them home. The same will be true for Mrs. Reimergarten's class in the letter B section, and then Mrs. Nova's class will wait on the wall. And then once first grade starts, first grade will be down towards the other parking stall areas, and then kindergarten will be near the flagpole. So more information to come as those grade levels roll in with their starts. This is an example of the physical distancing markers that we've spray painted for that section of waiting area. So if that was A, Mr. Friesen's classroom, you see there's some eagles that have been spray painted there as an example for where kids would stand to help with that, maintaining that physical distancing. So that's where they would patiently wait with their teacher until all picked up. Just some reminders about the arrival and dismissal process. Parent drop-off and pickup continues to be located in the parking lot loop, like we just showed, in that northwest side of the school. Please do not drop off any child earlier than the assigned transportation time, because we need to keep kids separated as much as possible in their cohorts, and also we don't have the designated supervision to support any extras. So please go through the drop-off pickup loop. You're not to park and get out of your car and walk your child to the classroom. You're just supposed to go to the drop-off, make sure they're out of the car safely. When you're in park, we'll have staff there to direct them, but you're also welcome to show them a map of where to go. If you're walking your child, please remain 6 feet from others at all times while on campus. And again, please pay attention to the designated entrances, because that is where kids will immediately enter, and then we'll take their temperatures right away. Arrival times, as we shared, the doors will not be unlocked. These are the external entrances, and manned, if you will. There will not be a person there until 8:40 for the AM bus arrival, and then our car arrivals, and then our walkers, or until 12:45 for our afternoon car arrival, then bus, and then walkers. So just something else to note, we are not allowed to have children doing patrol. So patrol will not be provided until 8:50 in the morning or at 12:50 for PM. Please, again, do not drop your child off earlier than the designated times. That's for safety and physical distancing and supervision reasons. And arriving late, we will need you to go to the main office, but please call upon arrival for further instructions on how that will be worked out. And then any families and or relatives of students or staff, we're not allowed to have entered the building. So the building is a closed campus now for BSD staff and students only. Should there be an emergency, we will call you and notify you, and we will work that out. But please know that we are not allowing anyone to enter the building at this time because of health and safety reasons. During the day, in order to keep all of our students and staff safe and to limit the spread of the COVID virus, families and visitors, again, are not allowed in the building this school year until further notice. If you do need to speak to your child's teacher or a staff member, though, you can always email your child's teacher. I can't guarantee that they'll respond back, just because they are going to be busy preparing for these COVID protocols as well as instruction. And so if you do email, it's best to email prior to school starting, between the 11:30 or 1 time slot when they do have some planning and lunch period, or after school. And just know that our staff strives to return your emails within 24-hour notice. If you need them to see a message sooner than that, please call the main office or contact our office manager, and we will do our best to relay the message just like we normally do. If you need to pick up your child early, again, please let us know, let your child know, let the front office know, and we will arrange for your child to exit the building and meet you. If you need to drop off any emergency items, like medication for an individual healthcare plan, or you have a charged laptop that your child forgot, or an iPad that they forgot, and yes, they're required to bring those every day. You'll want to park in the parking lot and call the main office, and then that's where just let us know that you're here, and there will be a table outside our main office for you to set your item on. And then there's a doorbell where you can ring it, and it will ring into our main office, just notifying us that the delivery has been made. So at that time, we'll come out and get any emergency item that may be necessary. And just important to note, our playgrounds and fields are closed to the general public during school hours. So between that 8:15 and 4:15 hour is currently right now. It may be extending because we are going to have on campus childcare, and they also use our campus. It's our kids, so we have to have them use our campus in a safe way. So please know that the playgrounds and fields are closed during school hours. Playgrounds are actually closed all the time right now across the district. Some of you have asked about the fields. Those can be reserved, they can be used, but just not the playgrounds. and especially during school hours. So spread the word across the community on that one. Also, something else that I've had questions about is how bathroom use will work. So we have had to, for contact tracing purposes and safety purposes, assign bathroom usage to students. So on the right, you'll see an example from our internal plan of where classrooms go based on location of bathrooms and how that works, the signage and so forth. But just so you know, we've also, there are classrooms that have bathrooms inside of them. So that's where kids will be using the bathroom. But if there's a bathroom in the hallway, we have taped off one of the urinals so that there's 6-foot distancing for those that use a urinal. And if there's 3 stalls, we've taped off the middle one to also support the 6-foot distancing. So even in the bathrooms, we're minimizing how many kids can be in the bathroom at a time for that safety and contact tracing purpose as well. As you'll see in this picture, classrooms do have desks that are spaced 6 feet apart, and desk will not be shared. So there might be an AM desk and a PM desk, but they will not be the same desk shared for an AM and PM group. Every child will have their own piece of furniture. Extra furniture has been removed by our custodians and stored when necessary to help prevent closer than 6-foot seating. Our custodians will be using a sanitizing spray in the classrooms between the AM and PM shifts and also after PM dismissal. And materials, students will have their own materials to use that cannot be shared across students, and staff and students are required to maintain that 6-foot distancing as much as possible. So that's just something important for you to know if you're worried about your child being next to any others or so forth. That's how this is working. Sanitation and ventilation, there's daily sanitation and surface cleaning happening all the time. I know I've been here at school for about an hour and twice my door handle's been wiped. So they're constantly circling the building, disinfecting and getting used to their routes right now. We are using electrostatic spray that uses a specialized solution combined with air and atomatized by electrode inside the sprayer. So that's probably more information than you need to know. But basically, it's a spray that contains positively charged particles and spreads itself and covers every surface and object to kill any germs and viruses. We will be paying special attention to high touch areas such as the door handles, faucets, which have been turned off and are all taped off and bagged off, or railings and so forth. There's plentiful hand sanitizer throughout our school now, and our HVAC system was replaced over the summer, and all drinking fountains have been turned off. So there's health and safety precautions every ounce you can imagine, meeting the Department and CDC regulations. Signage. Oh, I want to go back and just say something about the drinking fountain. Actually, Duke, you don't have to go back. I just do want to say a plug about the drinking fountains. Our generous PTSA, that's all of you that are members and have donated to our PTSA, have elected to purchase water bottle filler stations. So once our water bottle filler stations are up and running and we're able to open the flow of water again, we will no longer have drinking fountains in our school, we will have water bottle fillers. So I just want to do a little plug for our PTSA, who's also working behind the scenes to help us with lots of support and so forth. Signage wise, you'll see lots of signage around our school, so this will look a little bit different. There's lots of signs about how to stop the spread of COVID, so our job is to educate, as always. So we will be continuing to educate children on how to stop the spread of germs. You'll see different stand here signs, so you'll see like a district provided one or a spray painted one example in this picture. You'll see our entrances and exits are all labeled. You'll see there's a new vestibule built around our main office entrance. That's not only for security, but also for these health and safety checks that we're required to do. Similar to, like I said, in the grocery stores, you'll see signage of arrows of which way to walk and so forth. So we have our whole school mapped out with that. And I'm sure we'll continue to adapt those as we learn more about our traffic patterns once living here off of paper. And then we also have, like I spoke to, a wellness room This is where all students with any symptoms or any staff member with any symptoms will be asked to report, and that's where we will do further screening and ask parent pickup to occur. For meals, we are not serving meals at this time, just for safety reasons. And unless your child has a special accommodation in their individual healthcare plan or a 504 or an IEP or medical reason, please do not send them with a snack. Drinking fountains, like I said, have been disabled, and again, mentioning our PTSA for supporting some of those efforts. I also wanted to add that we've ordered, as a school, additional medical masks for adults and children, and also some plexiglass barriers for each child's desk to protect. And sometimes kids just sneeze, so just to protect germs from spreading even further. If you have a child that wants to bring a water bottle, they can do so. Please put their name on it, but they need to step outside to take that drink. So I don't recommend it necessarily, but at the same time, we know that they might get thirsty because they have been home for the last, I don't know, however many months since March, used to drinking and eating, many of them, upon our slave requests as parents. So if you have a child that you know will need a drink beforehand or during the day, during that 2.5 hours, you can send them with a water bottle, but just know that they're going to have to drink it outside their classroom because of safety precautions. Additional safety rules. This is all about health and safety because that's first and foremost right now upon the return. So we do have assigned roles and responsibilities as building leads for overall COVID-19 response, coordination, and communication. So this is just a slide showing some of the examples of the roles that we have assigned. They've required online and virtual training. I know I just attended a virtual training this morning with our school nurse, that many of us did, for our wellness room. So we have school COVID-19 coordinators, attestation and attendance specialist, a building infection control lead, a wellness room coordinator, there's a few of us, contact screeners, family contact leads, and then verification of planning leads. So these include just the verification piece. I know as admin, we have a checklist that we need to follow to make sure that all our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. And then also we have union reps within our building that are making sure that we are upholding to these regulations. Our facilities department is also doing walkthroughs. We have registered nurses checking over our shoulders to make sure we're following all precautions. And there are executive directors also. Actually, after this call, we'll be meeting with another walkthrough of our school and all the signage and so forth. So we're really taking this seriously and have many layers cross-checking every school to make sure that we are doing everything in our ability to keep campus health and safety. And so I just appreciate all of you out there who are preparing for in-person return and taking this seriously so that we can open school and serve students in person and keep our school open. Wellness room, I've spoken about the wellness room. So again, if your child develops any symptoms or they have a fever, staff will escort them to the wellness room, which is our old music room, if you know where that is located. Parents will be notified after the initial screening and asked to pick up your child. And school administrators or school nurses will communicate with you about next steps needed before the child can return to school. So that's all based on CDC and King County Department of Health requirements. Again, just making sure everybody's getting the help they need or the caution is there to keep everybody as healthy as possible. Precautions as a family. If anyone in your family develops any symptoms, please just err on the safe side and do not send your child to school. Let us know and we will do everything we can to provide asynchronous support. We're currently, all the elementary schools are working on a plan on what that will look like. If anyone in your house is diagnosed with COVID or your family travels outside the state, your child is required to stay home for 14 calendar days. It's not that I don't trust all of you doing testing and so forth, but I am upholding that as a campus that is going to be a health and safe place for our staff and students to arrive. So please work with Mrs. England to set up an appointment if you have questions about that pertaining to your family. because the more we can work together on this, the better. And if you do have to quarantine, please let me know so that we can try to make arrangements for your child's online learning. And again, we're just exploring options for minimizing instructional loss during this quarantine time. What that looks like, I can't answer, but we are working on that. Our first and foremost is health and safety right now, and then we'll get to the instructional piece. But also with quarantining, there are some exceptions in which if you have a significant hardship for your family that we might be able to work an alternative mode for instruction with you. That is not determined by me. That would be determined by our executive director of schools. So if you get in a situation where you have to quarantine, please be in touch. And I know some of you I owe a phone call to right now, and I'm on that, but we're doing the best we can right now. So thank you for your patience. But again, it's really important that we all work together to take these precautions because, like I said, we want to have a safe and healthy school that we can keep open. During asynchronous time, something to note, as soon as second grade starts this Thursday, there will be a new schedule for specialists. So all the specialists will be virtually offered and provided to students for that in-person, like after their in-person instruction. So during their asynchronous learning time, kids will still have their specialists. It will be during their asynchronous time and will be done virtually with their computer. And like I said, they'll be bringing their computers. Please charge them the night before to and from school. So all iPads and laptops will be going back and forth. And the reason for that is because sometimes we will be doing assignments or Teams meetings with them in class, and other times it's just to make sure that they have what they need, or that we can show them what they might need during asynchronous time. So preparing your child, again, we provide lessons on mask wearing, hand washing, social distancing, arrival and dismissal procedures are being worked out, and our school counselor has been working on delivering those with the partnership of some other staff. Please share key points from this presentation with your child, especially the mask wearing, the social physical distancing piece, and the importance of washing hands after they go to the bathroom or so forth, and keeping their hands out of their mouths and so forth, and noses. Might add that for the elementary presentation. Children are required to bring your favorite mask and one extra in a Ziploc bag, and please put that in the backpack. If you don't have an extra mask, we have additional masks that we can make available. Again, please make sure that they're bringing their technology device issued from the school, not your own, but the BSD issued device per teacher direction. So that is something, sometimes they might not use it, sometimes they might use it, but it's always important for them to have in their backpack. Optional, water bottle labeled with their name. Again, that's going to be optional. And then please leave at home any snacks, toys, or anything else that's not needed for instructional time. So your teachers will help advise anything that they might need extra, but please leave all those at home for now. Childcare, information continues to come out about childcare. We do have Boost, which is a Bellevue School District provided childcare available, and that's based on our capacity. So it will be located in our old or our former early learning program site. That's where Boost will occur. And if you want to register for that, it's through the district. There's a registration site here at bsd405.org/programs/ELP. There's a lot more information there. And we plan to have childcare on site this Thursday. Hours are 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. You'll see the tuition rates there broken out by K-2 and 3-5. And it does say hybrid because they are prioritizing students enrolled in hybrid for childcare first. They are working on a lunch plan, and so childcare will communicate with families if you need to provide a lunch for those first few days, but they can't work on the plan until kids are registered, so that's a little bit tight in the timing. But also, I've heard Bellevue Boys and Girls Club is also developing plans to additional openings. I did not see Woodridge on their website, but that's something to keep in mind and keep a close eye out for if you're looking for additional childcare options. So, to summarize, things to remember. Please complete your daily health attestations before your child arrives to school that morning. Keep your students at home if anyone at home has any symptoms. Could be flu symptoms, could be COVID symptoms. Just know that we're cautioning on the side of safety and good health. Please pack an extra mask in a Ziploc bag. Please bring the assigned and charged iPad, laptop daily. Do not pack food or unnecessary items. And like I said, optional if you want to pack a small water bottle. We don't have running water right now, but they could drink what they do bring. They'll just have to drink it outside their classroom. So I know we are looking forward to seeing you. Second grade again starts this Thursday. First grade starts the following Monday, and then kindergarten starts the following Monday. So we are always here for you. Below are different names of people who you can contact. And at this time, I'm going to pause and breathe because I've gone fast, but I know Danny's been monitoring the chat. And I don't know if there's any questions, Mrs. Neal, that frequently asked questions that I can help with.
Yes, there are quite a few questions that fall into a couple different categories. So there's some health and safety questions, some transportation, kind of drop-off, pickup clarification, and a couple miscellaneous. So I'll just start with the transportation kind of drop-off, pickup questions. I think one of them was answered, but just to reiterate about accompanying students to their assigned entrance or parents staying in the car, and maybe specifically for maybe a kindergartner who's never been on site, what the routine would be to get from the car to their assigned door. And the other one is regarding Boost. What is the drop-off pickup if students attend Boost?
Great. So I know I keep thinking about this as a former kindergarten parent, what that must be like. So here's what I would recommend. I would recommend any and all looking over the arrival entrances and bringing your kid on campus to point out where they will go and practice those routes with them. We will have our plans to have adults greeting at the courtyard area to direct children. So if you're pulling up to the car and they get out of the car, please let us know if we usually are pretty good about spotting those that have a hard time, but we can also help get them to the right space. But if you'd like to stand, actually we're not even supposed to let you out of your car. So just make your best judgment based on your child, but I would just recommend practicing with them so that they get around the corner. I'm in my office pointing, but if they get around the corner to the courtyard, there'll be other kids there. And the reason we started second grade actually first is to provide those peer models for first grade to follow and kindergarten to follow. So just know that we'll have adults out there greeting them and supporting them, and I know that's hard as a parent. As far as Boost goes, they will be communicating that, but typically on the corner of this map that Mr. Trong is showing right now, Mr. Trong, can you put your arrow where the ELP site is down below on that picture? Yeah, right there. That's where you'll enter the gate to drop your child off for the Boost childcare program. I don't yet know how that's going to work, as I haven't met with them yet, but that is the site in that bottom right-hand or bottom left-hand corner of where Boost program will be located. But again, they'll be communicating that to those that register.
So another question that just came up about Boost is how would they know if they have a spot in Boost? And then also a question around whether students can bike to school, and is the bike rack available?
Bike rack is available. Yes, good question. It's located where Mr. Trong is pointing on the PowerPoint, right behind the main office, if you will, in that main courtyard. And how do you know if you have Boost registration? You will register and they will notify you if you are in or not. So going back to that link, you'll want to work with the ELP department, the Early Learning Program department.
Great.
Did I answer the questions, Danny?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
So we'll move to I think under health and safety, there was one family asking if the daily check site is available yet. It wasn't loading on the phone. So is that already up and running? And maybe it's just a technical issue.
Yeah, it's up and running right now for, I know as staff, we just used it, or I just used it before arriving to campus. So it should be arriving. It might not be arriving for it might not be working for your child because they haven't had the start date yet.
Okay. And then a couple of questions around, if a child does get sick. So if a child has a cold for a few days, or if they find out the child has been around someone who was positive, can that child switch to a remote class for a few days, or do they just miss school? I'll ask the other one real quick because I think they're very similar. What is the protocol if a student in the class does test positive? Do the other students quarantine, or would in-person learning continue for the class? I think another question very similar was just the plan for kids who have to quarantine so they don't miss instruction. So just around that theme of if someone is sick or perhaps a class has a case, how do we ensure continued instruction?
Okay, so if your child has a cold or any symptoms, please keep them home. And again, we'll be providing asynchronous learning during their asynchronous time. During their in-person time, that's the plan that we don't have. I'll be honest, we don't have that worked out yet. That's something that our directors are talking to us about, of how that will work when a child does need a quarantine. But we do have general school assistants that are working virtually that could do some check-ins with kids. So we have all sorts of brainstorming ideas that we have floating around on how to support kids when quarantining. Danny, sorry, I was trying to, in my head, I was answering a lot, but I'm trying to track them all.
No, it's okay.
So quarantining one.
Yes, and then what if there is a positive in a class? Do the other students quarantine besides just the student who might be positive?
Yes, if there's 2 positive cases in a class, then that's when the whole class would quarantine. And if there's more than one class in a school, then the school would quarantine.
Okay. There's also a question around then for attendance. Oh, go ahead, please.
Oh, and then I was going to say there was a question around, could they switch over to virtual class or not? No, once assigned to hybrid, you're assigned to hybrid, and virtuals are assigned to virtual. They're all different teachers, and they all have their different student loads and assignments. So it's not as easy as just saying, oh, sure, just join this class. It doesn't work that way. So, but again, if and when a child needs to quarantine, we will be working on what that could look like outside their asynchronous time.
And so I think the other related question was around what does the attendance end up looking for, like for the child if they have all those absences, or does it count as an absence if they do some work from home?
Duke, do you know the answer off the top of your head? My head's so full of details, but that one I don't have at my fingertips.
As of now, I believe that we're finalizing the attendance. If the question is regarding like, will we be kind of going through our traditional process of after so many absences, there's going to be a file for Becca. At this time, I don't believe that we're doing that. And as Ms. Hepworth shared, we're going to do everything we can to support families. A lot of these cases, or some of these cases, may be just so situational. Please know that let us know. We will do everything we can to support you.
Great. So the other questions around the health check, if a family forgets or a child comes to school without the health check, what is the next step? And then also, what if it's not accurate? Maybe it was, there were no symptoms when the health check was done, but then they come in and we notice symptoms.
So if you forget to do the health check, we will notify you immediately about that. And if, let's say, there were no symptoms when you left the house and all of a sudden we start to notice things, we will also notify you of that.
Great. And then some miscellaneous questions were around if a parent opted for bus, but they would now like to use car, how can they change that?
You just take your car. You don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't have to notify anyone. Okay. Nope. And then if a specific parent doesn't yet know their child's class time for AM or PM, or what their choice of registration, how would they find out?
You'll want to contact our office manager at England, it's ENGLUNDL at bsd405.org.
Okay.
So our main office, or you can call the main office. I know Miss Chi was there too. So yeah, Duke's pointing to it right there. So you can call the main office at 425-456-6200 or email Mrs. England and she can tell you your registration.
Okay, and then just two more. One was back on health and safety that I missed. I apologize, but has there been testing of the HVAC system, or how do we know? You said that was replaced, and they're just wondering if there's been any testing on that or any data on how that's performing.
Yes, they have been testing it like, I don't know what an analogy is, like a hawk. They've been doing CO2 readings and so forth on all of those. They've rerouted the HVAC to be ventilation. So my understanding is the air comes in, it gets cleaned, it's distributed to a space, and then it's circulated within there, and there's no space now sharing air. So for example, my office is not on the same ventilation system as the conference room like it used to be. So those are all isolated now and ventilated that way. So they are testing those and continue to test those through our facilities department.
Awesome. And then
I've learned a lot.
I know. And one question, a couple just came in around communication. If a class does need to quarantine, whether it's your own child's class or perhaps a sibling or just any in the school, what will the communication look like for, I guess, the whole building in terms of next steps?
So there are templates that we are required to use to notify. We are, just so you do know, we are not allowed to provide any information because of FERPA of who it might have been traced to or how we found out or anything like that. So I have not yet looked at those templates, to be honest, because I haven't had to use them yet. But I will say I imagine it's being similar almost to lice and how we communicate. So if there's a breakout in that classroom, we will notify that classroom only as it pertains. But if it's broader to the school, we'll notify the whole school.
Okay, and then I'm really trying not to miss any questions, but I believe the last one that was kind of on the miscellaneous was a question at the beginning around the potential of teachers not returning to school on Thursday. There was a concern. This person was wondering clarification. They heard that BEA is taking a vote on teachers potentially not returning to school on Thursday. Is that true? And what would that mean for students? Will there be class on Thursday?
So yes, I can't speak for all of our staff, but I can say that there is definitely a continuation of concern and non-concern amongst all staff across the district. And so the BEA members have been invited to a meeting today to do some voting around some questions they have. We do plan to hold school on Thursday no matter what, and so we will be here to greet your child and support them during their time as they enter and return to in-person. So I don't know what the resolution of tonight's meeting will bring forth for staff, but I know that we're planning and preparing to support kids no matter what.
Great, thank you. And I believe this last question that just rolled in was similar to before, so you may have answered it, but I don't want to miss it for this parent. If a class or school has to quarantine, will the class return to virtual instruction for the quarantine period? And I think you were saying that that's what is still being worked out, but maybe reiterating.
Yeah, that's our understanding at this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope that I covered them all.
Okay.
To the best of my ability.
No, I can't see the chat, so that's super helpful. Okay, well, we will be sending this. Thank you to those of you that joined and some great questions. I know this is not something I think any of us ever imagined going through. So continue to thank you for your partnership. And the more, honestly, the more you can demonstrate safety in the community, it brings confidence to us on staff. You know, we peek out at the playground and field, and when we don't see people wearing masks, it raises concern. So please know that we're treating this safely or seriously, and that when we require these health and safety measures, it's no judgment against you and your practices. It's just what we're requiring to try to keep our school as safe as possible and to be able to open and stay open to greet those kids. So we all want to work with the kids. We miss the kids, and I get goosebumps thinking about them in person and seeing them. So thank you again for your partnership, and we'll be sending this recording out soon. So please watch for that. And we'll see second grade on Thursday. Thank you.